3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show. Along with Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being on board. Based on my very recent travels here to the beautifully appointed Herndon Chevy Studios, a lot of you are in the car right now as the fringe of Hurricane Helene is making its way into the Midlands of South Carolina. It's, as Ollie would say, it's raining, and it's coming down pretty good. I live down near the Forest Acres area of Greater Columbia, and typically not typically, I basically always come down Gervais Street. And Elijah and Tyler and Terry were ragging on me the other day when I was a little bit later arriving than typical. They were repaving about a quarter-mile stretch of Gervais Street, and that delayed me. And then today I said, you're not going to believe this, second time in 3 days. I was like, I'm going to be delayed again. Many of you that are residents of Columbia, where the old Constand car wash was, in that dip on Gervais Street between Hardin and Gregg, that floods rather easily and quickly, and it has started flooding. So they have police barricades on both sides. So I had to come around, as did a lot of other people. It's funny, you only have to go like 2 blocks over, but I swear, it's like people have never been over there before. They're like, where am I going? I was like, you're going in the same direction, man. Like all of downtown Columbia, that's the beauty of downtown Columbia, if nothing else. It is not like Paris, France, or London, England, where the roads just go wherever. It is a grid.
It's a pretty easy one to figure out. It is a very easy
east-west, north-south grid. And if you just keep going, I joked with Elijah, I was like, I can see our building. I was on Hampton Street instead of Gervais Street. It's like, I see us. I know where I'm going.
We're a big building, too. It helps.
It helps.
Easy landmark.
But I just, like, if you were going down Gervais and you had to get rerouted, and that's the way you were going towards the Congaree River, it's still west. I promise you.
Don't even need your compass for that.
You really don't. It's still west. But you got people looking. You can tell, too. They're like, where am I? I've never been over here before, And I'm not trying to pick on people. But storms and, disorientation does different things to the mind. But in all seriousness, please do be careful. I know the kids are already home and the buses aren't on the road, so that's good. It is coming down pretty good. And it's going to continue for a while.
Some gnarly flooding.
Yeah, and again, it'll get worse before it gets better. So, in all seriousness, be careful and check on those folks who do have, issues with getting around a little bit more. Make sure they got what they need. Whether it's family, neighbors, friends, church-going folk that that just might need a little extra something. My dogs did not want to go out. The lab didn't mind. My little, Yorkie poodle mix.
Not one for water.
Man, my girls call her a diva. I don't like to go that far. I don't like to shame her like that.
But today,
she just looks, and she could probably
proof of concept.
Man, if she had not gone to the bathroom for like 48 hours and it was raining that way, she'd just be like, I'm fine. I'm not going because I'm not going out in that.
Hey, I guess we holding it.
Right. She's like, I'm not going out in that. The lab after a while was like, yeah, I got to go. And she finally just trotted out there. She comes in all wet,
Labs love water, though.
Oh, they do. They're swimmers. They're swimmers. We got a lot to get to on today's program. We will venture north, at least virtually, to Charlotte and talk to our good friend Joe Person on the Panthers beat. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. And Joe put out a good piece yesterday that we referenced for a bit. Are the Panthers in any kind of trade situation right now when it comes to Bryce Young? It seems like the answer is no. But you do have to think, man, if the right deal, which doesn't seem like it would take that much, came across somebody's desk, David Tepper, then they might say yes.
I mean, there are some quarterback desperate teams out there. And I think the one in particular that everybody's thinking about is a team that can contend right now with a good quarterback, and that'd be Miami. The Dolphins really need some type of upgrade over poor Skylar Thompson. That poor guy can't get it.
Yeah, that was rough the other day. I saw some highlights.
The playoff game a couple years ago was really bad.
Well, so many times, not only do you hear that this particular position may be the most popular on the team, but also at times when you think about it, the most important, and that is your number 2 quarterback, because number ones do get hurt in this sport at every position.
In the NFL, we had a record amount of starting quarterbacks go down.
So that matters a lot at this point in time. I really would. And I listen, I'm not a Panthers fan. I'm not a Panthers detractor. I don't really have what you would call a second favorite team in the National Football League. For what it's worth, if you're watching on YouTube today, I am coincidentally wearing one of my Denver Bronco T-shirts. But I like the Panthers, and I reference my amazing Aunt Judy all the time. Our good friend Chris Clark is a Panther fan. Plenty of people are Panther fans around here, especially those of you under 40 that grew up with them. But at the same time, I would like to see, if you're not going to let Dave Canales be the so-called quarterback whisperer that people say he is with Bryce right now, Mike McDaniel's one too. And you make a great point. The Dolphins are built to win right now. Now, does that mean Bryce goes and plugs and plays the way Tua did? No.
Because there's still a lot wrong with Bryce that needs to be coached out.
But at least from the perspective of what Tua and Bryce were involved with in college, you could say there's a lot of similarities to what Mike McDaniel runs down there. One thing that is definitely true is that the Dolphins have guys like, Hill and Waddle.
In a really good running game.
Hubbard was pretty good the other day. I don't know. Well, we'll talk to Joe about all these things. But I kind of would like to see Bryce Young get an opportunity. But at the same time, in all seriousness, I wouldn't want to see him be placed in a situation where, okay, you're now Tua. Because I don't think he's that either. So, but we'll talk with Joe about those things and a few other things going on around the Carolina Panthers. But Joe will be with us coming up bottom of the hour. We'll get into a few thoughts around the Gamecocks. Coach Paris, Coach Staley speaking this week about their teams as practice gets underway for men's and women's basketball pretty much all across the country. Coach Paris with a pretty good line yesterday. If Cam Scott, I'm paraphrasing, if Cam Scott isn't on the all-conference freshman all-conference team, I'll coach for free next year because he's had 2 all-conference freshman performers in a row in his first 2 seasons, and he wants a third.
He's trying to keep a streak alive.
Yeah, so
I respect that.
I don't know if he'll really coach for free considering how much he's now making, but if he gives the discount rate, the hometown discount, whatever they like to call it. So we'll
the university wouldn't mind.
We'll get into that. Some good news for a couple of Gamecock football players. We'll touch on all those things for you as the off week rolls along. I think one more day of practice today, although I'm not even sure what they were able to do today. Shane's going to give them a few days off. They'll all report back on Sunday and then start to get ready for Ole Miss. Speaking of which, they've got Kentucky this weekend. Do they get the Kentucky that played South Carolina, or do they get the Kentucky that played Georgia? Or do they get something in between? I was watching, I told you earlier, I was watching the Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman show on the On3 podcast channel. And they made a pretty good point. They're going to kick off at 11 o'clock Central Time in Oxford. And that's often, this is not judgment. It's often a more late arriving, very tailgate-oriented crowd. It's not typically the most raucous environment in the Southeastern Conference. It can, like any stadium, get going when they really are rolling along.
It's known more for its tailgate environment than its in-stadium environment.
I think that's fair. And does that play into anything that Mark Stoops might be able to do to thwart what Lane wants to do? I don't know. Why was Georgia so inept offensively at Kentucky? Was it all about Kentucky? Was it all about Georgia? Somewhere in the middle is the truth, but where in that 0 to 100 spectrum?
I think it's fair to say Georgia has some offensive limitations, and that if you can't run the ball all over Kentucky, then you're making Georgia have to utilize that deep passing game, which they haven't been able to do.
They really haven't.
I think it's kind of the perfect storm of Kentucky's got a really good defensive line, hard to run on them. The one thing Georgia really can't do offensively this year is chuck the ball downfield.
But they can play defense, can Georgia?
They are good at that.
So there's that. But what does Ole Miss get? And if you're a Gamecock fan, I suppose, in the nicest possible way for me to say this, because I do not wish injury upon anyone, but you're hoping that Mark Stoops is as physical as he can possibly be in the trenches, and that Ole Miss is just feeling a little bit worn out before a road trip to Columbia next week. So
Especially against a team coming off a bye.
Yeah. And are you pulling? I think if you're a Gamecock fan, are you pulling for an outcome almost exactly like Georgia, Kentucky? In other words, you don't want Ole Miss to lose, but you want Ole Miss to know they just finished playing a really physical game. Because if they lose, then maybe there's a different hunger, edge.
And the game's not as big. Like, you would rather beat an undefeated Ole Miss team that would come into Williams-Brice top 5 in the country, probably with a pretty good average win margin for all that, and that would look so good on a resume and just as a program building win.
Yeah.
You want to stack a lot of those.
Yeah.
It would just look better if you do beat them. The opportunity is much greater if Ole Miss wins. I think that's a fair way to look at it.
Yeah. So we'll touch on a little bit more of that for you throughout the course of the afternoon. Going to be a little bit of a different schedule today. Yours truly will be away tomorrow. So we're going to play the Wild Card Showdown today. We'll still do that at 5:30, and we still have one of our 107.5 The Game craft beer passports up for grabs for the prize, which is cool. In fact, we were given a new allotment of those for prizes throughout much of the season.
Be re-upped.
And I promise I will not keep any for myself.
I can't make that same promise, so
As
I'm not
far
going to
as
say
you know.
anything. I can't, yeah.
Well, since you won last week, do you want me to give you one?
I'll take another one.
No, I can't do that. You already got one.
Do I?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You said you did. You just said you'll take another one. That means you have one. At least.
Can I plead the fifth? Can I retract a statement?
I don't think so, man. This is live
Dang it.
radio. That's not
Yep.
how it works.
Yep, we all heard that.
But we'll be doing that for you at 5:30, so we'll take the drive around the SEC in the 4 o'clock hour. We will get back around. A lot of you participated yesterday. A lot of you agreed. A lot of you disagreed. A lot of you were in the middle. Elijah's thrown out a poll question today. But the UNLV quarterback situation, Matthew Sluka, continues to dominate a lot of the talk around college athletics. Now we have not a similar story, because the reason Sluka did what he did when he did it is so he could preserve a season's worth of eligibility. Now we have a player at Southern California, a transfer from Georgia, I might add, who has also decided to stop and preserve a year of eligibility, but it has nothing to do with broken promises over NIL dollars. Instead, he's just upset that he's not playing as much. And then apparently said, hey, just look at the tape. And then so they went and looked at the tape of some of the plays where he was in against Michigan, and the tape wasn't good.
Wasn't pretty.
It's like you might not want to say, go look at the tape,
If the tape's not good.
when you got 2 Michigan offensive linemen blowing you and you're 320 pounds right off the ball.
Yeah, you don't want to see that on tape. No, you don't want to see that on tape at all. No, you don't. No, bad look.
So we're going to take a timeout now.
No, yeah, you don't want to see that on tape. You're right. You're right, Jay Phillips. What you just described.
I'm glad there's a hurricane.
Oh, you need it now in the worst way.
Yep. All right. I'll try to hit the reset button. We'll get Elijah to add a few years back to the maturity level for both of us. Oh, man. All right. 803-404-6100.
Postgame show coming up after this.
Yes. Listen, if you are a yard work type, personal, professional, you get a reprieve for the next couple of days. However, in all seriousness, because of what's coming through town right now, there will be a lot of cleanup. And you might need to head over to see our friends at Cato's Power Equipment to make sure this time and every other time these kind of things happen, you've got everything you need. Some great deals right now on steel chainsaws. And yes, you're going to need some of that. Steel blowers as well to get a lot of that debris off. They've got some great specials running right now on those things and so many other great brands for the things you need too. And so look, gas-powered, big backpack, yard blowers, yard vacs. You've also got battery-powered, electric, whatever you might need. Big bags to get everything done when you're mowing, whatever you might want. And listen, get those things serviced, get them ready to go for the fall when you're going to need them a lot. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. Family owned since 1983. Ben, Matt, the whole crew. Go see him at Cato's Power Equipment. Twenty minutes after 3 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. I kind of already figured that today was going to be just, like one of those days. I mean, when the weather is the way it is, and you can just tell that life is moving at a different pace. And then, innocently made comment trying to discuss sports turns into...
I think just a poorly structured sentence. The words were correct. I think you just might have had one out of order or too much of a space in between one to the next.
It's fair.
Yeah. See what you're getting at, and I tried.
Yeah.
I tried.
No, you didn't.
I didn't say how hard I tried.
No, you didn't try. You didn't try.
No.
That's cool. It was... what should I do next? Oh, you know what? Terry's on the line. I'm sure he's loving this.
I know him.
And he's over at an area Hardee's right now. You might be the only one there, man. I mean, which is fine in the short term because that's a lot more food for you. But there's still a great cause going on through the month of September, Mr. Ford.
Yes, absolutely. The Harvest of Hope Food Bank. We are doing Roundup with Hardee's for the month of September because, again, Midlands kids need good lunches, and the best way to do that is to make sure they get good lunches. So Harvest Hope Food Bank is teaming up with area schools to make sure children get good lunches, and we are rounding up your meal at Hardee's to the nearest dollar, and that will be part of the donation to go toward the Harvest of Hope Food Bank to make sure kids in the Midlands can eat healthy at lunchtime. We're at Garner's Ferry. We're not telling you to come out today because, again, the weather's brutal. But when you are going to Hardee's through the month of September, remember, you can round up your bill for a good cause at Hardee's. So real quick before I forget, Elijah, real fast.
Well,
Elijah?
Say it again?
I tell you what, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that little piece of audio that you guys are talking about, hand it to our production gurus, and make a new promo for the postgame show.
Oh, that will go over very well. See, Terry missed the last segment, and he had to ask why I was fighting back tears. And
Well, he was laughing uncontrollably when he answered the phone. Now I know I need to go back and see if I can find that audio to listen to and then save it, and we can pass it off to our production experts, and we can have a great post-game show promo.
You might want to pass it by the upper management first.
As our friend Neil on the text line says, hashtag 1075 after dark.
Yeah.
It is very dark outside.
It is. So sometimes.
But seriously, we're at Hardee's. It's for a great cause. Again, we're not saying, hey, come on out today because the weather is what it is. Just remember to please round up your bill at Hardee's. You get a good cause. The Harvest of Hope Food Bank for feeding kids lunches in schools around the Midlands.
Good stuff, sir. Thank you. We'll check in again in a bit and grab a chicken BLT for me, will you?
You got it, brother.
Thank you, sir. That's Terry Ford.
It does sound really good.
Hardee's, is he back on Veterans? He said he's out on Garner's Ferry. That's Veterans right off Garner's Ferry is where I think that's where he is again. All right.
Can be a little lonely there, I'm sure.
Well, the folks at Hardee's are nice.
They are. Yeah. They absolutely are.
They'll be there with him.
They good at making food, too.
That's good. That's good. 803-404-6100 for you to be part of the program or to leave comments on the text line.
Got a few. As one can imagine.
We're not going to get to those.
No.
Sorry.
I'll just file all of that under things you don't want to see on the tape.
Just letting you know. But thank you all for sending them in.
Eye in the sky doesn't lie.
We will see them, and I'll enjoy and laugh, but we're not going to read them on the air.
No. Best that we don't.
So, but I'm not going to apologize for anything either. I didn't do anything wrong.
You provided great content. So actually what you did was correct.
Yeah. I did fine.
You did.
Just, would maybe like that one back.
Like some quarterbacks have throws they want back. Sometimes us in this industry we have sentences.
I did not see the strong safety hiding in the coverage.
No,
there.
it was a very well disguised coverage.
I saw, I did not see a cover two. I saw my guy run his route. I did not know that other safety was going to come from the backside there underneath.
Yeah, you did not. You did not.
It happens.
You don't want to see that on the tape either. No,
but that's
when you're watching
news
back
is
on the tape, you don't want back.
That was an early in the game turnover, and
so much
and one that I think we can overcome.
We absolutely can. Yeah, this is the first drive.
It's still scoreless.
That's right.
So there's that.
You can be Bryce Young or you can be Andy Dalton.
Threw the pick, and I'm hoping that the defense will just force a quick 3 and out, give me the ball back, and away we go.
Some short rhythm throws.
But it's also now in my head, and so, you know, if my teammate continues to say, hey, remember that interception you threw?
So being a good teammate is very important. And I'll try my best not to mention anything with my face.
No, you know who is most proud of you right now? Michael Haney.
Yeah, probably.
All I'm doing right now is envisioning you as my dear friend and longtime colleague, Michael Haney, who, if he knew this were happening right now, would not be able to breathe. And I apologize. I apologize to those of you who have just tuned in and like, what the heck are they talking about? I really can't go back. I had a little fun with words by accident, and nothing FCC.
No.
Bad, just context. And
early
Elijah thought it was funny, and as soon as I realized what I had said, I just wish I could have changed a couple of things real quick. But that's what happens when you work in a live, audible medium.
See, that's why live radio is always going to be superior. I love podcasts as much as the next guy, but you can edit a lot of that stuff.
You
out.
can, and they do. I'm not here for that.
No, absolutely.
I'm the trapeze guy.
These are features, not bugs, baby.
I'm the high wire guy. Actually, I got the line between the two buildings, downtown, wherever. Sometimes the wind blows, man, but there's no net down there.
Nope. What movie was that about the guy that crossed the tightrope across? I think it was it the World Trade Center towers? Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Too afraid of heights, man. Can't watch that.
Oh God,
my hands will get clammy. I start getting nervous.
When I'm watching people do that kind of stuff, I basically just stop. Mm-mm.
I don't even like getting on ladders.
Yeah, it depends on how high you're going. Yeah, but I'm with you.
Don't love it.
No.
Which is why I've seen like previews for that movie. I have vowed not to watch it. It's just going to give me like an hour and a half anxiety attack.
Yeah, I don't know if I suffer from like vertigo, but I do not really like heights. And I remember going my first time to the Empire State Building, and you can kind of look straight down if you get like one good angle, but it's kind of hard to, at least on that first observation deck. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't even know why you're doing this.
Don't know why you'd want to. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
So,
Nope.
I was just like, oh, these are a lot of tall buildings here in New York City. Just look out, not
down. No.
Anyway, all right. Well, we're off to a decent start. But I tell you what we'll do. I got a real pro coming up on the other side. Our buddy Joe Person on the Panthers beat for The Athletic. Of course, used to be on the Gamecock beat here in Columbia for the State Paper. Great friend of the show and station. He'll tell us what's going on with Bryce Young, with Andy Dalton. Maybe even talk a little David Tepper and the future of the organization. Joe Person coming up here on the Postgame Show. No better place than Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, in my opinion, at least, and theirs and many others, to finance your next vehicle, whether it's something new for you, maybe a very worthy model for one of the kids as they get a little bit older, driving them around to school back and forth, or maybe it's for hunting season or tailgate season, whatever it is. Shop for that next vehicle. Then see the folks at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and find out how much you can save. Plus, with the rate environment changing for the better, you might be able to save even more. They offer the same low rates on new to 21 models. They've got some great options for older vehicles, too, and they can finance over 100% of the retailer purchase price on those new to 21 models, plus additional coverage and insurance options dealerships simply can't beat. My wife and I are very happy customers of Palmetto Citizens, have been for several years now. We use the Millwood branch, but they got 14 all around town. And again, you can always bank online at palmettocitizens.org. Time to talk some Panther football. Our buddy Joe Person from The Athletic on the beat. What's the latest around the Andy Dalton, Bryce Young situation? We'll get into that. Could there be a trade, maybe in or out? All of that and more coming up in just a little bit.
He is still in the middle of player interviews,
Okay.
so he'll have to hit us up
Okay.
here later.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. He did say that may be a distinct possibility.
Yeah, so we'll call an audible.
Okay.
Picking up the blitz, calling an audible, changing the protection.
Yeah, we had to do a little bit of that today. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. If I was doing any better, Jay Phillips, there'd be two of me.
I hear you. Let's get into a few other things, and we'll just kind of shift things around. There is an interesting story going on. And we'll do our best to turn serious here for a minute. Yesterday, we had a really big discussion about this UNLV quarterback situation. Matthew Sluka announcing that he was going to redshirt the remainder of the season. He claims, and I believe him, as do a lot of folk, that he was promised $100,000 during the recruiting process last January, and UNLV delivered on only $3,000. I've come around to the conclusion it's somewhat of a question still, and no one's been able to convince me or give me an answer. Why would this young man and his father lie? Because it would be easy to say, no. That never happened. Notice that UNLV has only said, hey, we followed through with some of the things here, but then when they came back for more, like, this kid had it going for him. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be an NFL quarterback. And he and his family know that. This, like a lot of college football players, especially in this new era, you're going to try to capitalize one more time. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I see no reason for them to lie. I just don't. Again, if you got one, let me know. I don't think they're going back saying they promised, we agreed to this and now we want double. I don't see any of that. And here's why I don't. The coaching fraternity is mega tight. And Barry Odom, the head coach of UNLV, again, has been a head coach in the Southeastern Conference. He's been a coordinator in the Southeastern Conference and I think in the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember, but he's got a good resume. He's really kind of punching above his weight, if you think about it, for where he is right now. And he wants to turn that into something, and they've been talking about those kind of things. I think they were talking a bigger game at Vegas than they were able to ultimately cash in on. But, all he would have to do is make a couple of phone calls. Heck, he could just tell his agent, and I don't know if it's Jimmy Sexton or not, but just tell your agent, and then just talk to a couple of coaching buddies. Kid's a turd. Forget it. I wouldn't touch him. Mm-hmm. And that'd be easy enough. And then this kid goes nowhere. And
I've seen radioactive, basically.
Yeah, I've seen some fans say that, like, why would a school want him if this is what he's going to do? I'm like, why would you want to play for Barry Odom if that's what he's going to do? And I think that's where this is, because it's a lot easier for Barry Odom and his staff, and I hate to say it this way, but I will, to ruin this kid's reputation and potential next season, than it is for this kid to do anything to Barry Odom. So why would he lie? Mm-hmm. He's having a good year. They're having a good year. So that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense to me to see this kid, quote unquote, throw it all away. I do not believe that's what's happening here.
Or especially lie about something that can be very provable, right? If you're a quarterback at UNLV, you say you didn't get the $100,000 that you were promised, you only got $3,000. That's very provable. If UNLV wanted to say, look, we gave you the $100,000, they can prove it. You can prove that transactions have been made to give you that money. It's an incredibly provable thing. If you're a quarterback, if you're Matthew Sluka in this scenario, the risk of lying to try to basically get leverage and get a bigger bag somewhere else is such a high risk because of how provable it is. Right. Like you said, all Barry Odom would have to do is say, hey, look, dude, here's the to other coaches, hey, look, here's the proof. Oh, you want this kid to come to your team? Look at my phone here. Here's the proof that we sent him that money, and this is still the act that he pulled. Yeah. It's a very provable thing. That's why, to me, there's just no great
Barry
idea to
Odom said
put yourself
nothing.
in the public crosshairs, because that's what this kid's done. He's put himself in front of a ton of public scrutiny by doing this. It's not worth the public scrutiny to make yourself potentially radioactive if you want to continue your college career. It'd be counterintuitive to do that.
Big time. And so that's why, I believe this kid and his dad. Now, they do have an agent, and this is part of the problem, in the sense that they have an agent who I don't know what kind of agent how good he really is. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you not very good, because he didn't, if you will, read the room very well. Because there were things that could have been done that he didn't do because he thought he couldn't. That's not a good agent. But that doesn't mean that the kid still needs to keep playing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've seen a lot of. How can you quit on your team? How did the coaching staff quit on him? Forget about whether he should have gotten it in writing. I agree with that. So I lean towards this kid. And notice Barry Odom himself, silent. Now, maybe it's because he's trying to prep for Fresno State and get another quarterback ready, and they got a big conference opener and whatever. But Barry Odom's reputation's on the line here. Mm-hmm. So, at least, when I say on the line, it isn't like Barry's going to never coach again or never get a good recruit again, but this is going to reflect poorly.
Yeah, your reputation in the recruiting world would take a hit, because anytime you want to get a transfer portal quarterback or you're recruiting a player and you mention something like NIL and you're mentioning things in like the form of a promise to try to get somebody to go play for you, it's going to be met with valid skepticism. Right? Like if I'm a high school recruit, I'm 18 years old right now, I'm being recruited by UNLV, and they have serious interest in me, and they say, hey, look, kid, we'll give you even $60,000 to come to UNLV. Now it's at the point where, like, are you sure you're going to? Can I get that in writing? Like, it's going to be met with so much skepticism that it's going to hurt you in the recruiting trail. So much of recruiting is trust. And that's what we saw here, is potential breach of trust between player and assistant coach. And you got to be able to convince these kids and their families that they're going to take care of you and follow through on a lot of these promises. Even one public example of that broken trust can really hurt you when it comes to the recruiting trail.
Yeah. So I guess I cannot find anything to convince me otherwise. And when I'm having these types of discussions, whether it's on air, off air, whether what I'm reading, I will, for the sake of my own benefit, and trying to complete the picture as best as possible, I'm not somebody who comes on these airways. I'm not Mr. Hot Take. And I want every bit of fact possible to help me base my opinion on. And so if there is a fact that I can get to that contradicts how I felt or that makes me change my opinion, I am more than happy. I seek it on my own as often as I can. But if someone else has one that I didn't think about, and if I'm watching some of these college podcasts, I told you, and you and I were talking this morning, I watched 2 different interviews about this morning live. I've watched a couple of podcasts about this already. I've read a bunch of things about it, and there is nothing to this point that has made me change my mind. If anything, it has only strengthened my resolve when it comes to saying this kid is telling the truth, because if he were lying, it would damage him to the point of not being able to play again. But for those who are saying, why would another school want him if he's going to quit on his team? I just cannot. I get where you're coming from. And if there were something to back that part of it up, I could be there with you. But there isn't. I think he's telling the truth 100%. I think they lied to him. I think he gave him every opportunity, including going to practice on Monday. And this is the school. Again, the school didn't say extortion. But the school's statement, and by the way, and I'm glad they did what they did 30-something years ago, but for UNLV of all places, hey, we're just doing, you didn't get that basketball team back then because they were just really interested in the UNLV basketball education. Program. All right?
Nope.
And listen, that was one of the finest collections of talent on a college basketball team ever.
Still fun to go back and watch those games.
They were amazing to watch. It was must-see television. It was absolutely must-see television. And in the old days of their conference, A lot of late night games. My buddies and I would stay up. You know, they're playing New Mexico State and whoever. I remember when they lost to New Mexico
Tip-offs
State
at like 11 p.m.
It was great, man.
I
They were awesome. And I know they had Augman and LJ, but I'm telling you, Anderson Hunt, because I'm just a big guy. I'm just a point guard fan. Anderson Hunt just running that show. But anyway, my point is, those young men were not playing there out of the goodness of their heart.
No, definitely.
But that's another story, and that was a long time ago.
There's money to be found in Las Vegas.
That was a long time ago.
If one of those players really needed that money, it would have been found for them.
But there's no extortion here. And if you read between the lines of the school's statement, it basically sounded like they were being extorted. You're not. Now, again, this is why schools need to run NIL. This is why coaches need to shut the hell up sometimes. Don't say things that you hadn't checked out and verified first.
Transparency is very big in this regard. So we clean up a lot of it.
You know, we'll get into that. But there's another story. We'll come back on the other side. There's another story that has to do with not with the transfer rule, but with the eligibility rule and the red shirt rule. And this one, I think we can be critical of the player. And we'll get into that when the postgame show returns. Be careful if you're running outside, though. I don't want you to slip.
If your phone's outside, then I have some bad news for you.
Yeah. But I tell you what, we'll reset it like we did yet. We'll go back to caller 3.
Fantastic.
All right.
I like that number.
Caller 3. While you're doing that, I'll talk to Terry Ford about helping out a great cause over at are you back at Hardee's on Veterans and Garner's Ferry? Is that where you are?
No, we're on the Hardee's on Garner's Ferry and Garner's Ferry. You keep going up Garner's Ferry. You don't take that turn to Veterans. You keep going down Garner's Ferry, and you keep going, and you keep going. You'll see a lizard.
Oh, I know where you are. Okay, yeah. Okay, you're way out there. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
I'm way out there.
I got you.
I'm way out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly where you are.
It might take me 2-3 days to get back.
No, it's not that far. But I know where you are now. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. That's good. And it is a great cause.
Absolutely. We're trying to make sure kids get a good lunch when they're at school. And Harvest of Hope Food Bank and Hardee's and 107.5 The Game, or the Game Network, is hooked up with Hardee's for the Round Up campaign. You go to Hardee's, you get something to eat, you just round it up to the next dollar, and when you round it up, will be given to the Harvest of Hope Food Bank again to make sure kids in the Midlands have good, healthy, hearty lunches.
I see what you did there. Nice going.
You like that?
Yep. Well, for those
I didn't really do it on purpose because I don't do that. So I really didn't want to do that on purpose. That's not my bag.
For those that are headed out that way, if you're going home, and be careful because Lower Richland gets a little rainy, a little more prone to some of the low-lying areas. So be careful. But stop by and grab a little something. And do your part. All right, we'll talk to you again in a little bit.
Round it up.
Yeah. All right.
I know you can't wait.
No. Well, there'll be something to talk about. I assure you. Terry Ford at Garner's Ferry. That's good. Garner's Ferry, Hardee's. Out a little
there you
more
go, the
east.
Garner's Ferry at Garner's Ferry.
That's right. A little more east. A little more that way. That way. That's what we'll say. All right. Thank you, sir. We'll talk again
All right, see you, man.
In just a little bit. Again, Joe Person will join us a little bit later on, too. Who are we congratulating?
We're congratulating Preston.
Ready to go, Preston?
Preston was caller number 3. Nice. Preston will be going to the Ole Miss game.
Carolina Ole Miss.
Next
Saturday at Williams-Brice. It's a 3:30 kick. 3:30-ish.
So bummed that that's not going to be under the lights.
So a young man named Bear Alexander transferred to Southern California from Georgia. Defensive tackle, was a big-time recruit. Well, I guess I want to say a top 50 nationally recruit, or way up there. Big kid, too. Is now going to redshirt, not play the rest of the year at Southern California. And his there's a man named Tony Jones who he calls his father. I'm not sure what the exact, whether it's stepdad or just close family friend, but obviously somebody who's close to him. Says that this is basically happening because of playing time. This has nothing to do with NIL. Bear thinks he should be playing more. And since he's not, and basically seemingly has been told that you're not, or that you got to work your tail off to get out there more regularly, he's decided to stop. He says, we made clear what our goals are. This is Tony Jones, again, representing, if you will, Bear Alexander. We made clear what our goals are. That goal is to be a full-time starter and leader on the defense like we came here to be. Lincoln Riley did not answer questions today about it, but said it was surprising. And he said a lot of people want to play for this defensive line right now. He played 21 snaps in the loss to Michigan. He did not have a good game against Michigan. Riley had been saying that some of the limited snaps came because of increased competition. And then again, this guy, Tony Jones, says if Bear not being a starter and playing 35 or 40 snaps a game isn't in the best interest of the team, we need to do something different. Again, the tape doesn't lie for kids like this, and the Michigan offensive line tore him apart. And I was watching, again, Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman discuss this situation this morning. This is very different. Again, while just a day apart, the Matthew Sluka news at UNLV and the Bear Alexander news at Southern California may seem like they have the same kinds of things in terms of a guy stopping now. Again, the Sluka story seems pretty obvious. He's not getting paid, and he was promised something. And again, him lying doesn't do him any good at all. Bear Alexander, on the other hand, is basically saying, my feelings are hurt because they don't think I'm good enough. Well, you're playing big boy football, man. You play at Southern Cal. You can say what you want about where Lincoln Riley is as a head coach right now, but it's Big Ten football, and you just played, even if it's a shell of who they were, you just played the national champion in their place, and you didn't look good. And it's because of their ability to dominate the offensive or the defensive line, Michigan, that Southern California got beat. Michigan just kept running.
Threw the ball 12 times.
So
34 yards in the air.
Now this is the kind of thing that harms a player reputation. Unlike, I think, the UNLV kid, who I think will be fine. This is like, wait a minute, you don't want to stay and compete for your job at one of the best football programs in the country?
This will make you radioactive.
And you already left Georgia? So now you've left Georgia and Southern California?
He transferred twice in high school, too.
It says a lot more about him. Hey, dude, you're not Aaron Donald. Hour 2 coming up. It's football season. How you watching? Whether you're at the game, that's a different story. But everywhere else, at least every other game, you need to watch it better at home. And that's when you call my good friends at Integrated Media. Maybe you've been to a buddy's house who's got a cool setup. Maybe you've been to your favorite sports bar, and you said, can I do something like that at home? Yes, you can. Call Integrated Media. Listen, I'm serious. If you can dream it, they could probably do it for you. And what you can do, too, to see a lot of what they've done is go to their Facebook page or check them out on Instagram. Just punch up Integrated Media Columbia. See a lot of the examples they've done. Like, I want to do that. Indoors, outdoors, one room, whole house, Wi-Fi that works everywhere. No better way to watch your favorite teams and be part of the action than with Integrated Media. 803-948-8327. And again, check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Then feel like you're there with Integrated Media. 4 o'clock on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, South Carolina, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Much of our state remains under a tropical storm warning, so do be careful out there. Downtown Columbia, not quite as busy this time of day as typical. And when the rains do come, and they sometimes come in those waves, Gervais Street getting pretty flooded. But certainly those of you in lower-lying areas, please be careful. As I was coming into work today, I already mentioned this on the air, but the little dip down by the old Constan car wash on Gervais Street in between like Gregg and Hardin, blocked off because of flooding. Don't know if it still is. I imagine it is. If it was already starting, that's probably only going to get worse. But those of you who know those areas, be careful. The University of South Carolina announced just a little while ago classes will be moved online beginning at 5 p.m. And all day tomorrow. Seeing that from the Daily Gamecocks Twitter feed. So online classes starting at 5 p.m. today and all day tomorrow. Unless you have a really cool professor who says,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Those are the best professors.
Had a couple of those. Now, of course, we didn't have any ability to go online, but sometimes they just say, to heck with it. But I can think of a few I had that would have been like, no, you'll be here.
I don't care about the weather. Class is the class, buddy.
Yeah.
That time don't change.
So there's that.
I've had way too many of those.
Our buddy Heath Klein just retweeted Brian Edwards, who is one of your better bookmakers and does a lot. I think Brian, he's been on the station before.
Yeah, friend of the early game.
Yeah. Says UCF. When is this game? Next week? UCF is now 1.5-point favorites at Florida. I think UCF this weekend has
Baylor.
Colorado.
Who beat Baylor.
Who beat Baylor last week.
In a wild and wacky game.
Yeah.
The UCF-Florida game is October 5th. In Gainesville.
Florida's gonna win that game.
I mean, they should. Look, even in the Mississippi State game, I know the final was 45-28, but it did get a little hairy at one point where Mississippi State was only down a score. They were driving, and they kind of drooled on themselves with a fumble late in the end zone, or near the end zone. And that helped because then Florida, to their credit, took advantage of that and then created the separation that ultimately became the 17-point win. But I can't trust this Florida team at all, even in a game against a team like UCF, who KJ Jefferson's not having the greatest year, but they still run the ball really well.
Well, I mean, a Gus team is going, to run. I think we get an interesting look at how good UCF is, maybe to some degree how good Colorado is this weekend with this game. I think that's an interesting. It's hard to believe that's a Big 12 conference game, but it is.
It's gross that it is.
That game is going to be in Orlando. What's the current line on that one? Hang on, I'll check for you.
That's a big one for Colorado, though. If they are serious about the pursuit of getting 6 wins on the season.
Do you know enough about this, about the betting lines on this game? You know anything about it at all?
Not this one in particular.
You want to you're pretty good at this. You want to hazard a decent guess at the spread of this game? So Central Florida hosting Colorado?
I'm going to say Central Florida is probably a 6.5-point favorite.
14.
Oh, no, that takes me by surprise.
How about the FPI? What do you think the 10,000 simulations say as a percentage chance?
Probably 67%.
82.
UCF. Oh, wow.
So, Central Florida is an overwhelming favorite.
That's a big favorite.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how good Colorado is.
I don't think a lot of people really know how good Colorado is.
I hear, look, Travis Hunter is maybe more of a unicorn. I hear a lot about Shedeur, and I see flashes of it, but I say, is Shedeur Sanders a top 5 pick in the NFL draft?
Yeah. Travis Hunter would be.
Travis Hunter
is that good.
Yeah, he is that good, and I wonder where he gets picked, though. I think
and where they play him.
Yeah, he is the kind of guy that is. When I say tweener, what I mean by that is not by position. What I mean is, he's not an elite lineman and he's not an elite quarterback. Therefore, do top 5 teams look at him and go, we need to have him? It feels like he becomes that guy who goes like 8th or later because you just got to go get
the best player on the board.
You go get that amazing left tackle, whoever that is right now, or that amazing edge rusher, whoever, like James Pierce.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers that kind of quarterback?
See, I don't know. I think I'd be more inclined to say Ewers is, but like Beck is pretty risk averse. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way a ton.
Jackson Dart,
a really good rule follower.
Going that high, is he?
I wouldn't think so. I think Jackson Dart's a great college quarterback. I think that's probably where it ends.
Help me out. Does Dylan Gabriel? Does he just have the year left?
This is it for him. Yeah,
but I don't know if he's that.
If he plays in college anymore, he might get tenure at whatever school he's at. Guy's been doing this for a long time. But Dylan Gabriel doesn't strike me as like that NFL type quarterback either. And
for what it's worth, this game, Colorado and Central Florida, the spread opened at 12. So the money's flowed towards Central Florida.
Certainly. Wild to think.
But that's an interesting one. If Central Florida were to cover that spread at home against Colorado, I think it makes it a little more palatable to believe they would be a favorite in Gainesville. But I don't know, man. A week from today, I'm going to have a hard time believing Florida is an underdog at home to UCF.
In any year, regardless of build-up of the teams.
I don't know. That's not a prediction. Again, a money line like this, a spread like this, is, I say, a number designed to part you from your money. But I have a again, that's one. Let's see. Vegas sets that like, hey, watch this.
It's a trick up their sleeve.
Yeah. So
I mean, them being that favored by that much over Colorado, given that like Colorado, looked really bad in the loss against Nebraska, but having Travis Hunter makes up for a lot of deficiencies that they have on the line play, and I don't know if UCF is that good in the trenches to be able to just maul them.
Travis Hunter already has 37 catches for 470 yards and 5 scores.
He made that circus catch against North Dakota State to win them that game.
Yep.
He forced the fumble at the goal line or near the goal line in the Baylor game to help preserve that win.
He has a couple of picks already too, right?
He's got a couple of picks. Yeah. Like I heard this put really, really well. I was listening to Split Zone Duo, a really good college football podcast, and they were talking about how, I think it was Richard Johnson, who used to do some work for SI, I think it's with CBS Sports now, was talking about how a team so overcovered like Colorado might have an undercovered player in Travis Hunter, because we talk about Colorado, we talk about Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders, and they take up a bulk of the attention, but as much as they are covered, Travis Hunter is undercovered because of just how good that guy is.
I feel like that's, she doesn't write for The Athletic anymore, Nicole Auerbach, but she works for NBC Sports and does a podcast for them, and she still writes a lot at their website, and I enjoy her work. She feels that way. She's like, why is this guy not? Now, look, it's still September, so, and I know the guys on the Dan Patrick Show call it the Septisman. A lot of guys can win the Septisman.
Geno Smith was a great Septisman winner. Yeah. Denard Robinson had like 2 Septismans.
But if Hunter can continue to do, I think a lot of it, and Nicole made this point the other day, and I agree, because I've talked about this for guys like George Rogers and Bo Jackson from back when I was a kid. They don't win the Heisman today because their teams win 8-3. And, like Tebow is now the rare exception on a team that was decent. I think when Tebow won the Heisman, I think Florida was 9-3 that year.
Mm-hmm.
And now so many voters, for whatever reason, just feel like, well, the Heisman winner has to be on at least, if not a true national title contender, then they can only drop to the level right below. And, like Colorado is not going to win the national title. Colorado's not going to make the playoff. They will have to really turn into something very special in the next 6 weeks to stay in contention, and I don't know if they have that kind of team. I just don't think they do. But he is special. Travis Hunter, is special. So can you find ways to market him and have people want to support that kind of candidacy. We'll see. We'll see. And I just the kid's name, the kid at Boise,
Ashton Jeanty.
Jeanty.
He's putting up video game numbers.
Yeah, but will he be doing it against competition that people respect? I don't know.
Or within his own conference where teams know you, but as well as you know you.
And looking at games,
that stuff matters.
This weekend, like the winning quarterback of the Georgia-Alabama game will vault a couple of spots in Heisman contention, I think.
Oh, certainly.
Even if they don't have a great game.
Just winning by virtue of winning a game like that.
Yeah, I think
if you're Georgia, if it's Carson Beck, even if you only throw for like 180 yards, you went to Alabama and won.
Yeah.
That's going to carry some weight.
And then, let's see what happens for Nico Iamaleava when he plays both Georgia and Alabama later in the season. Garrett Nussmeier gets a shot at Alabama and Mississippi a little bit later on. That's going to be interesting. So, it'll be kind of fun. But it's hard to believe that Central Florida is a 14-point favorite over Colorado, but
and already a 1-point favorite
over Florida. Yeah, and that's
on the road.
Yeah, that's how this came up. I can't see that. But if it is. I'm already looking ahead. We'll play this week's Wild Card Showdown later on today. Again, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so we're going to go ahead and play this afternoon in the 5 o'clock hour. Beer passport up for grabs. But I'm already kind of thinking that's UCF Florida game now as we're sitting here talking. I think that's got to be on the Showdown next week, especially if it's that tight.
I think it has to. That could be a one team anxiety bowl. Usually, the anxiety bowls are when both teams are incredibly anxious.
Why
didn't
Florida just hire Gus, man?
Well, I hear Florida might have an opening here soon.
He'll take the job.
He absolutely would take the job to get back in the SEC. Yeah, you kidding me? Yeah, he'd take that job. Maybe that's your backup plan if you can't pry Lane Kiffin out of Ole Miss's cold dead hands.
803-404-6100. We got a poll question out there, too, on the Matt Sluka situation. We'll touch on that for you, and we'll come back around and recap some of what we've talked about with the Gamecocks this week, including a couple of poll questions that we asked you yesterday on the program. You are listening to the Thursday Postgame Show. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this rainy Thursday afternoon. Again, a tropical storm warning in effect really for most of South Carolina right now. So please be careful. Schools are out. Again, for Carolina students, classes going virtual this afternoon and will be virtual all day tomorrow as well. If you've got any questions about your school, don't call us, but call your local school district. Figure it out. I got a hunch kids are going to be home tomorrow.
Yeah, good feeling about that. Yeah. The odds are like minus.
If they aren't already, they might be already. Maybe like Jay, you missed it, but I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, well, the Elijah Campbell Sportsbook has that at minus 500 right now.
Before we talk to Terry, I do want to remind you that Sips and Sounds is coming this Saturday night. By then, I think this thing will be, you know what? You'll need to get out and enjoy a little bit. This actually is a very cool event coming up. Sips and Sounds. It's going to be down there with our friends at Sound and Images right near Williams-Brice across from the fairgrounds. Unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, spirits. Live music from Ken and Drew from Sister Hazel, Dazer, the Donovan Twins. It's this Saturday evening. Begins at 5. And we got some special deals for you. You can find them at sipsandsoundscola.com. If you buy the super fancy VIP ticket, you get some Hall's Chop House food to go along with that.
I'd say that's worth getting that VIP
and
ticket.
I heard the commercial that said, free pinball. I'm like, all right, I'll just go do that.
You consider yourself a pinball wizard, Jay Phillips?
I used to play a lot of pinball back in the day, but I don't anymore. I would like to have a pinball machine at my house. One of my best friends had one, and every time I went to his house, which was a lot, I just would go play the pinball machine.
Yeah, I'm terrible at pinball.
It was great. I mean, it was awesome. I really appreciated that.
That's some old school fun right there.
Shout out to my boy, Michael Harrison. He knows. That thing was great. Loved it.
Was it a themed pinball machine?
It was a knockoff of the Beatles, and it was called the Boodles. And it was awesome. Dead serious.
I need to see documentation.
It was not the Beatles, but it said the Boodles, and it was yes, I very much remember that.
The Boodles.
The Boodles.
Way to avoid the copyright infringement.
That's right.
That is what I'm talking about.
And it was pretty much vintage from that era. Late 60s, early 70s pinball machine. It was great.
That should almost be worth more than a Beatles pinball machine.
It was great. I was always amazed that you could rig a pinball machine and not have to take quarters. In the meantime, Terry Ford is here, who just would go and break into pinball machines and take quarters. Oh, no, wait. I didn't mean to say that out loud. Mr. Ford?
Statute of limitations.
I'm just going to say this. When you're found not guilty in court, that's all that matters.
It's true. Yes.
All I got to say.
Innocent and not guilty are not synonymous.
That's right.
Terry's seen
you're found not guilty in court.
He knows it's
That's
about
right.
what you can prove.
That's right.
That's what matters.
But now Terry is setting good examples for the kids of the United States and even here in the Midlands.
Harvest of Hope Food Bank. We're out here at Hardee's on Garner's Ferry and Garner's Ferry. And we are hanging here. And all you do is you go through the drive-thru, you come in here or any of the participating Hardee's in the Midlands. And when you go and you get anything from Hardee's, you just say, can I please round it up for the Harvest of Hope Food Bank? And they will round up your bill. And whatever that is, that amount that rounds up, you will that will go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank to help kids in the Midlands get good, healthy lunches during the day at school. Again, any participating Hardee's, you can go there and round up. It's the Roundup program with the Harvest of Hope Food Bank and 107.5 The Game. So please do that for a good cause. September is Hunger Awareness Month, so let's make sure the kids have some good meals at lunch.
I like it. Good stuff. Before we let you go, did you and Tyler, with Tyler being a proud University of Georgia graduate, discuss the Bear Alexander story today?
We did not get to that one today.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know if Tyler had any thoughts.
7 schools ago for Bear?
Yeah, I didn't know if Tyler had any thoughts on Bear Alexander's time in Athens. Elijah just let me know. I did not know this until Elijah told me that Bear Alexander also transferred a bunch in high school. So this just sounds like somebody who is very, me first, which in and of itself can be okay, so long as you do understand there are folks around you. But I always wonder, about the adults in the kids' lives, Terry, that tell these young men and young women that they're doing it right. When it very obviously now seems that Bear Alexander is taking himself down a path where it's going to end deep in the woods somewhere, like a bad fairy tale.
A bear in the woods.
You know,
See what you did there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even mean to go there. But that's
No,
you know,
look at you.
but like I said in talking about it earlier, like, hey, dude, you're not Aaron Donald, and you need to quit having people tell you that you are.
Well, what's sad about it is, well, the articles I've read about it today, it's his father or someone he looks at as his father talking about it's a family decision. Barry Alexander wasn't even talking. It was the father saying we sat down as a family and made this decision. So how much of this is you're just basically kowtowing to the kids' whims, or is it the family, putting their 2 cents in because they see NFL money from Barry? Remember, Barry Alexander is a top 60 recruit coming out of high school. It's a 5-star kid or a high 4-star kid. So is the family looking at dollar signs and they want to keep moving him around to schools until he, gets his chance to play and show the whole world he's the next Aaron Donald? Or is this truly the kid, I'm not getting what I want to leave and go somewhere else? Either way, it's a bad dynamic, and it's just typically these don't end well, guys. You know that.
Yeah, well, and to make the kind of life-changing money like an Aaron Donald might have gotten, you're going to need to get drafted highly and get that second contract. And I'm not looking at this kid right now as one that the NFL says, yeah, you're a first-round pick. And I think they might believe that, well, based on the high school tape, I am. And like we said, just looking at the most recent example of the game with Michigan the other day, you're not ready for this level of football on a regular snap-by-snap basis, and that's why you're not playing as much at Southern California. So why is any NFL team, good, bad, in between, going to say, oh yeah, you're our difference maker? I don't see it, Terry.
No, I don't either. And again, it's one of those things. Remember, when he went to Southern Cal last year, it's because Southern Cal's defense was a sieve, right?
Yeah.
And they needed defenders. So Barry Alexander's not getting playing time in Georgia. And if you're Southern Cal, you see former high 4-star kid who is looking to transfer, and you go, we'll take him because, he went to Georgia. They're always churning out defensive linemen. Maybe this kid's got something. He's just blocked by the high-level guys, and we'll bring him here, and it hasn't worked there. So where are you going to go next? I mean, you're going to keep just transferring until you get what you want, which is playing time. Obviously, you can't, like you said, you're not getting playing time at Southern Cal because you can't compete on the highest level. So where are you going to go now, group of 5? And maybe you're going to get some snaps to prove what you're trying to prove, which so far you can't prove.
Yeah, it's an interesting tale. And now a third school, somebody will give him a chance. And maybe
Sure.
it finally happens, but I don't know who that is and why they would.
From a decision-making standpoint, too, it's really puzzling because now I don't want to say he's made himself completely radioactive, because when you're a top 60 high school player in the country, somebody's going to go out on a limb and possibly take you. But your stock is so low that you minimize what you can make in an NIL open market. You minimize the certain amount of places that you can go because your reputation has become what it is by sitting out now after 3 games to preserve that red shirt. Sure, you save a year of eligibility, but if you stayed and played this year, let's say you improve. Let's say by the time November rolls around, you win the starting job back. You have a 3-sack game against UCLA. You do something really big. Like if you do what he did now and quit this year, go in the transfer portal, your stock's already really low. If you stayed and played this year, played the whole season, your stock's still going to be very low.
Right.
The only way you can raise your stock is to be able to play this year. And then if you want to transfer out of that, then you have an open market that's going to be where you're going to be more in demand, and you're going to have many more options on where you can go, right? Him doing this right now not only feels, I guess, short-sighted, but not financially sound in terms of what you can make as a player, because there's still 9 more games for you to put out there really good tape.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why I think this is the tale. And Terry, you and I were talking about this yesterday with the Sluka kid at UNLV. And I feel like this player, Bear Alexander, is the one who's doing himself some harm to his reputation by saying, well, my feelings are hurt. They told me I was going to play more. That's different. You got to keep earning that. And I feel like that is more of a red flag to the next level than anything else. We'll see.
No.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and you both hit it. Is someone's going to Now, okay, so he went to Georgia, now he's at Southern Cal. Next is a lower-level power conference school, right? Somebody who is dying to bring in a talent like this they wouldn't typically get, correct?
Right.
That's where he'll go next. And he'll probably flame out there, too. Then he'll go to a group of 5 school. And then by that time, he'll exhaust everything. Maybe he'll be in an NAIA school in 7 years.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's sad, man.
It is.
It's sad.
All right, we'll check in with you again in just a bit. Just got a text from our good friend Joe Person, done with the Panther interview, so we will talk to Joe up in Charlotte about what's going on with the Carolina Panthers when the postgame show returns.
Only 4 days left. That's right. Only 4 days left for Columbia's Secret for Weight Loss's buy one, get one offer that they've been using to celebrate 1 year in the Midlands. And that's 1 year here in Columbia, helping people like myself achieve their weight loss goals and being able to do so in a very efficient amount of time. They do all of this with great coaching. Shout out Paul Grant and Shaylin over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, and without any pills, without any shots, and helping you sustain a living for the rest of your life at a healthy weight to lose the weight and keep it off. Of course, again, September 30th is the last day that you can enroll for this buy one, get one offer, so you can be able to go through this journey with a friend, loved one, family member, whoever. And if that interests you, go ahead and give them a call and take advantage of this offer before it runs out at 803-824-4210. Again, that's 803-824-4210, or hit them up at ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways. But first, I'll preface this with reporting that the National Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning, and that's going to be in effect in this area until 6 p.m. tonight. Again, a flash flood warning is in effect for this area until 6 o'clock tonight. This heavy rain has attributed to or contributed to some other accidents in town. We have got 3 big ones right now. One on I-26 westbound after the Columbia Avenue exit 91. The right lane's completely blocked there, and the right lane is also completely blocked because of an accident on 77 northbound at Shop Road near exit 6, and the left shoulder is blocked on 77 northbound near Forest Drive and exit 12.
Time to check in with our buddy Joe Person, see what's going on with the Carolina Panthers, who did win a game the other day and looked pretty good doing it out in Vegas. See if Joe lost any of his money while he was out there covering the team and what's ahead next. Always a pleasure to talk to the beat writer for The Athletic and the former beat writer covering the Gamecocks here back in the day. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on?
How was Vegas, and did you lose any money? How many slot machines are at Allegiant Stadium?
It's like the one place in Vegas that they don't have them. They have them at the airport, as you know, and pretty much every other nook and cranny. I did go out for a nice kind of Sunday morning walk out there, and I may or may not have dipped into the Horseshoe, and where else did I go? I don't know. But I lost some money at the slot machine, but not much, not enough to talk about. And I may have won some betting some football, so I feel like it was even.
Look at that. See, and that's
Your knowledge paying off.
If you break even in Vegas, you've probably had a pretty good time. Okay, let's cut right to it because we know what the story is. It's about the quarterback, and we can joke and say, well, see, clearly it was all Bryce, and now it's Andy. Is it really that simple, Joe?
Everything's always layered, but I got to tell you, it was pretty striking on Sunday watching that play out, in front of me over the course of 3 hours in what was a really neat stadium, by the way, first time out there. But, yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and I'm kind of working on something like this for tomorrow for The Athletic, but the offensive line play has been stellar. Like, even through all 3 games, that like Bryce was leaving clean pockets. Like it was, and some of that you can blame the Panthers for last year. I think he was still sort of dealing with some PTSD from the 62 sacks he had to endure as a rookie, and when the offensive line was not good, and when there were not as many playmakers as there are here now, and so I think Dave Canales had seen enough of it. I'm sure David Tepper had it as well, although I do have, I've been told by people I trust here that this was really a Canales-driven move, and that Tepper, of course, would have to sign off on it. But at any rate, putting Andy Dalton back there, maybe we shouldn't have been that surprised. I mean, this is a guy, he didn't win a lot of playoff games, but he had the Bengals in the playoffs every year, and 14 years of experience means something, and certainly it did Sunday for the Panthers at Las Vegas.
Joe, I really enjoyed reading the article about the potential trade market for Bryce Young, and you mentioned in that piece that he's not really available right now to be traded, and the Panthers still, at least the belief is they like to keep him on the roster. So my question to you is just what do you get in terms of feeling that what the belief level of is in Bryce Young right now, because he's still incredibly young. This is only 18 games or so into his NFL career. There's got to be some things that this coaching staff believes they can still fix, but in terms of just a belief that the organization itself can fix Bryce Young, how high of a belief do you think that is?
I don't know that it's super high, honestly, and I say that for a couple reasons. One, Dave Canales was not part of the brain trust that drafted Bryce Young. Dave Canales was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense coordinator at that time. And he looked at Bryce Young on film, even though Tampa Bay was really not in the market to draft a guy. And, he has said all the nice things about Bryce Young, but he doesn't have a lot at stake in Bryce Young's future. Now, Dan Morgan, the GM here, does to a lesser degree, because Dan Morgan was the assistant GM under Scott Fitterer. David Tepper clearly has a ton involved and a ton of stake in the game, to the tune of 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and DJ Moore, all of which they sent to Chicago, as you guys know. And so I don't know. I feel like so far when we have asked Dave Canales, we haven't been able to talk to Dan Morgan since that benching. But I feel like some of what Canales is saying to us is lip service. Like, well, I think it was last week or the end of last week, he said, we're a developmentally minded staff. Like, we still think we can develop Bryce Young. But how do you do that, guys, when Bryce Young's reps are with the scout team offense? I mean, I even asked Brad Idzik, their offense coordinator, today. I said, how, are there even any offensive coaches on that field? Because, you're going against the first-team defense. It's mostly the defensive coordinator and all the defensive coaches. And the answer was, well, we've got a couple offensive guys over there, which I'm assuming are the lowest level, offensive quality control coaches in the building. And so I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of belief right now. It doesn't mean they're necessarily ready to flush him tomorrow because he is the backup and that investment that some in the organization made in him, but not all.
Talking to our buddy Joe Person, covering the Carolina Panthers for The Athletic. Let me stay with that for one more thing that you touched on in your piece yesterday about any potential trade, and that is the value. I mean, yes, we have talked a lot, all of us have, that spend any time talking about the Panthers on the haul that Chicago got to give up that first pick. You can't get anywhere close to that. Most of what you wrote, and we mentioned this yesterday, but for the audience that didn't hear it, Joe talked to a bunch of his fellow beat writers around the country with The Athletic, and it felt like a day 3 pick would be there in some form, and that the Panthers might take something with best case scenario a little bit higher. I mean, if they were to get a second round pick, would they just do it to say to heck with it, or do you just have to wait at this point because of what you gave up?
It's a great question, and I do think the fact that Andy Dalton is 36 years old might give them pause because, as we saw with 34-year-old Adam Thielen on Sunday, those 34 and 30-something-year-old hamstrings and Achilles and calf muscles tend to pull and stretch and tear more easily than a guy like Bryce Young's age, for instance. So I think in the short term they are looking to hold on to him. I mean, that's what I've been told. That can change. I mean, if some quarterback, if Tua, they decide they're going to shut Tua down in Miami, or if the Raiders just decide they've seen enough of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, like I suppose, like everyone's got a price, all of us. And, yeah, I think they absolutely would move on from them. But I don't think they're going to do it for I don't think they're going to do it for like a day 3 pick yet. And I mentioned in that article, and so did a couple of my colleagues, that, the Trey Lance seems like the precedent here, where the Cowboys gave up a 4th-round pick to the Niners for Lance. And, of course, the Niners had traded a bunch to move up for Lance in that draft. But then after I read the article, someone else had a good, a possible comp, and that was Justin Fields just this past offseason, who went for like a conditional 6th that could turn into a 4th. And, boy, can you imagine the optics if the Panthers had to have that sort of return on Bryce Young? I mean, and maybe we get there. Maybe they get there. I don't think they're there yet.
Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. I'll just say it like that, just to make people feel good.
Well, that's true.
Just the best I can give you.
So that means the next 6th-round pick, yes, will end up being Tom Brady. That's the only rational conclusion you can make. But I think Jay posed a really good question earlier in the week, Joe, when we hit the airwaves. Panthers win that game with Andy Dalton at quarterback. You beat the Raiders on the road. Now what? So my question to you would be, after kind of reviewing this game last Sunday, did Andy Dalton kind of prove that the Panthers have enough around a quarterback position, regardless of who it is, to avoid being the worst team in football? Or is this kind of like a classic case of an NFL backup catching a bad football team by surprise?
Yeah, you know what? I remember people last week talking to me about survivor pools and picking any team the Panthers were playing, and I said, I'm not sure I'd do that this week because just for the reason you mentioned, just that bounce back, you could feel more energy at every practice, in the locker room when we were in there last week. There was just a noticeable bounce, like the bounce back, right? And so it sure looked. And even Andy Dalton after the game said that went exactly like you draw it up. And he said, guess what? It ain't like that every week. And so, there's no question that Andy Dalton gives them the best chance to win right now if you're lining up him and Bryce Young next to each other. I mean, it's not even close. That was true also last year, by the way. But Frank Reich and his staff, I think, had a directive to keep playing him. That's gone, clearly. And where do they go from here? I don't know. I don't think they're a playoff team with Andy Dalton, but they could screw around sort of like the Panthers did in 2022 when Steve Wilkes took over with Sam Darnold, who, by the way, turns out he's a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah. Playing well.
There's some all-pros around the NFL of guys that the Panthers either traded or decided weren't good enough here, including a couple quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield and Darnold. But at any rate, the Dalton situation is interesting because they could win. They could win some games. I'm not suggesting they're going to rattle off 6 or 7 in a row, but they could play themselves out of a really good draft pick. But I don't know. I don't know that Dave Canales cares about that. And frankly, David Tepper, I don't know if he cares because the first home game, guys, I'm sure you saw this, there were fans here at Bank of America Stadium with bags over their heads and a bunch of fans also chanting, "Sell the team Tepper." And so they've got to win some games at some point, and I think that's really what this boils down to with Andy Dalton.
And an interesting matchup with Andy's old team, the Bengals, coming up this weekend, who need a win desperately. So there's all of a sudden some interesting tension at BOA Stadium on Sunday. Appreciate you, sir, as always. Enjoy it. This saga continues. We'll talk soon.
You got it. Sorry I missed you earlier.
No, we're all good, man. Appreciate you. That's our buddy Joe Person. You can follow him on Twitter, Joseph Person. If you don't already, catch his work at theathletic.com. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. Once again, flash flood warning. Basically, if you can hear us, unless you are all the way over toward, and I think even, you coastal areas, those of you in the PD that way too. But basically, if you can hear us right now and you're in South Carolina, you're under a flash flood warning. You're certainly under a tropical storm warning for the next several hours. Do be careful. Elijah will have another traffic update for you coming in just a little bit. So do be careful. Again, it's easy to tell that traffic in downtown Columbia not quite as heavy as typical for this time of day because a lot of you have already made it home. So there you go. But I will remind you, we are going to be playing the Wild Card Showdown earlier than normal. We're doing it at 5:30 today. Typically, we do it on 5:30 at 5:30 on Fridays. Yours truly will be away tomorrow. So we'll be doing it today with a craft beer passport up for grabs as the prize. So 5:30-ish today. It's now-ish time to talk with Terry Ford, who is out at, as he said, the Hardee's at Garner's Ferry and Garner's Ferry, as opposed to Garner's Ferry and Veterans. He's a little farther east. What have you had to eat today? That's the big question.
Well, you know what's funny? Usually I pop that chicken tenders because the 3-piece chicken tenders is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Get the honey mustard, dip it in there. Of course, I can drink honey mustard with a straw out of glass.
Sure.
Totally
That's another
normal.
story for another day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What would you like to drink, sir? I would like some honey mustard.
Oh, that's
with
not
ice.
weird. There's weirder, I assure you. That's not.
Yeah,
You
I
can be
don't
put on a
know.
watch list for less.
Yeah.
However you roll, Jay, in the privacy of your own home is your business. We don't judge. But anyway, so I usually do the 3-piece chicken tender, but I've been told the Frisco burger is phenomenal,
Ooh.
Can confirm.
which
yes.
does sound good.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Frisco burger.
All right.
Yes. So when you go to Hardee's, get a Frisco burger, get the chicken tenders, whatever you do, you just round up your bill to the nearest dollar, and whatever you round up in change will be given to the Harvest Hope Food Bank. That way we can make sure the kids in the Midlands are getting good, healthy lunches when they're going to school, because that money will go toward making sure the kids are eating good at the noon hour. So it's not just at this Hardee's at corner of Garner's Ferry, and Garner's Ferry. It's also any Hardee's in the Midlands. And, of course, September is Hunger Awareness Month. So round up with Hardee's and the game.
There you go. By the way, our buddy Chris Deering just says half the roads in downtown are closed. Yeah, I kind of figured they would. Thank you, Chris. When I came in, again, I come down Gervais Street here. Our building is on Gervais, but that dip on Gervais between Gregg and Hardin down there at the old, it's just a vacant lot now, but it used to be the old Constant car wash. That was closed off for flooding. And I came down Hampton Street, and I was worried. I told Elijah when I was on the phone, I was like, I hope they can let me through on Hampton because it also has a dip. But they did because it wasn't quite as flooded. So
Oh, yeah, they you couldn't
how am I gonna get
you couldn't get to
home?
Rosewood, man.
Yeah, I mean, how
Well,
am
you're
I-
not. You have to sleep there. You just have to sleep there.
Slumber party.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Oh, that's I've
The only
never seen
cot
Jay
we
Phillips
have,
more excited.
only cot we have is that one that Dave uses, and I don't.
Yeah, you could sleep on that.
I hear
After you run a
floor is
blue
very
light
comfy.
over it.
I know I know oh God, I know I could.
See a lot of that on tape.
I know I could. Yes, but just because I can doesn't mean I will or that I should. Speaking of can, would, should, Terry Ford, we just talked to our buddy Joe Person. Who would trade for Bryce Young right now and give up something of any value?
I mean, right now you're selling low. Because, I mean, look, even I always like to play the opposite GM game. Okay, right now, if I'm interested in Bryce Young, let's say my personnel people / my head coach says, you know what, the Panthers have totally broken this guy. We watched him on tape when he was at Bama. We would have loved to have drafted him in the first round ourselves. We think this is a thing where he just got stuck in a bad organization and a bad culture. Go get him. Okay, I'll make that call. Or if you make that call to me, but why am I offering you anything of value? Because you just benched him. He's got terrible numbers. You're telling everyone basically that you think he was the number one reason your offense stunk. That Andy Dalton went out and tore it up. So the perception is Bryce Young's broken, right? So why am I giving you a lot of value? I'll throw you a 4th, 5th round pick, call it a day. You give me Bryce Young. Hopefully I rehab him, and he's a good quarterback for me. But I'm not giving you a lot. I'm not giving you any pick in the 1st or 3rd round. No way.
Yeah,
Not doing it.
certainly not a first rounder. Again,
No. Oh God, no.
maybe the
Like I
most
said, I'd
desperate
give you a
team
day 3.
would go 3rd round, maybe, but I don't even see that. So It's
No,
unfortunate,
I see
man.
a day 3 pick.
It's unfortunate. I just and Joe reminding us the number that just sticks out: 62 sacks last year. You know, how many times did you get popped? You know, probably
Yeah,
into the
but
triple
guys,
digits. You know, it's just
Guys, I'll say this. If you can rehabilitate a Geno Smith and a Sam Darnold and a Baker Mayfield, I think in the right system and the right culture, Bryce Young could be still a good
that's fair.
franchise quarterback in the league.
That's fair. Headlines of the day coming up. AAA Heating and Air on the hunt across the Midlands for the oldest HVAC unit around. Do you believe it is yours? If you do, you might be able to get it replaced for free. Here's how. AAA wants you to go to myoldair.com. Find the information you need to enter the contest. If you've got the oldest AC unit in town, you might get a new one. Because for every 100 entries they receive, again, at myoldair.com, one person is going to get their system replaced from AAA Heating and Air. And listen, if it's not you, but you still need one, you got guaranteed financing. You got 12 months, no payments or interest. You get a $1,500 system buyback rebate. These are great people to work with. They've been working at my house for a while, and we absolutely love them. They keep us nice and comfortable. So check it out. Could be you. myoldair.com. Good luck from AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to. They're causing some issues on the roadways. We'll go ahead and start off with the announcement of the National Weather Service putting in a flash flood warning that is in effect until 6 o'clock tonight. Again, a flash flood warning here in the Midlands until about 6 o'clock tonight. Some of the accidents that are still active right now, we have one on 26 westbound at Broad River Road near exit 97. The right lane is completely blocked there. And on 77 northbound, the left shoulder is blocked over the Forest Drive exit 12. We do have a couple of accidents that have been cleared, one on 26 west after exit 91, and one on 77 northbound at Shop Road near exit 6, also cleared.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Final hour of the postgame show as well, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We'll start with the Braves and the Mets. Again, postponed until a Monday. Now, there are different scenarios that may make these games unnecessary, or at least the doubleheader unnecessary. But Atlanta and New York will not be playing tonight as well. Of course, Hurricane Helene is now making its way up into the panhandle of Florida. Should make landfall here in just a little bit. It'll be coming up through Georgia and certainly western South Carolina, western North Carolina. But as Elijah just said, flash flood warning here, and our entire state is basically under a tropical storm warning for the next several hours. But the Braves will have the Royals in town tomorrow night, and that one looks okay from what we're told. There's still, it could be a little dicey depending on what the storm itself does. Max Fried is now the scheduled starter. Don't know yet about Chris Sale. There is the possibility that the Braves push him, but I think you need to keep winning regardless. So, and then hope that the Diamondbacks lose. Maybe you don't even have to worry about what you do against the Mets, but you need to win some games this weekend, no matter what.
A moot point if you still don't win anything now.
Yeah.
And the Mets take care of business against the Brewers. False ask, but
Brady Singer is scheduled to go tomorrow night for Kansas City. He's 9-12, but with a 3.73. Max Fried is 10-10 with a 3.42. So pretty good sample size there. Yeah, it's huge. To be perfectly honest with you, don't see a money line on this one, but the Braves have a 60.4% chance to win the game. But again, no Braves-Mets, just in case you missed that news yesterday. So right now, a lunchtime doubleheader is scheduled, and the playoffs would begin on Tuesday. A lot of people have asked, and David O'Brien had a piece about this today. You knew this was coming. You being Braves, Mets, Major League Baseball, and you had an off day Monday. Why didn't you play Monday? And why didn't you start yesterday's game at noon when you could have gotten it in? All very fair questions. From what I'm told, everybody has to agree. And when I say everybody, the teams, that is ownership, and the union. So the players, the owner can't just make that decision on his or her own, or a manager, if you will. Not that a manager would, but you know what I mean? But the union has to agree as well. Again, these are collectively bargained things. The Mets were coming off a night game on Sunday, and both teams would be traveling. The Braves were down in Miami. And at this point in the season, from what I was able to learn from reading these things, both teams wanted that day off. The Mets wanted a travel day and a day to rest up. So did the Braves. And so they didn't want to play on Monday. And they knew there was a risk here. And, again, once you see this thing coming, could they have at least tried to get two of these games in? Again, could you have played yesterday at noon? Well, they did toss that one around, and I think both teams were amenable to that. But one of the things that everybody looked at was these games were sellouts. Even in the middle of the week during school time. You're paying public, especially, well, anywhere. I'm not going to say especially Brave, but I mean, the Braves sell that place out all the time.
Regularly.
And when the Mets are in town, there's a lot of Mets fans too. So they wanted to accommodate the ticket buying public as much as anything else. So that's why, in so many words, logistically, that they decided not to do it. And so instead, you put yourself behind the proverbial 8 ball of potentially having to play 18 innings of baseball, and one of you is going to make the playoffs. I mean, that's just it. Yeah, maybe, again, if both of you are in a position to, that means the Diamondbacks have failed, and then maybe it becomes moot in terms of a doubleheader. But the chances are pretty good that if there is a doubleheader in Atlanta, one of those teams is going to miss the playoffs, and the other team is going to start the playoffs on the road the next day.
This is some real college baseball type stuff.
I mean, it's
the doubleheader with the season on the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So there we go. Speaking of baseball, a lawsuit has now been filed over this Shohei Ohtani 50-50 ball. An 18-year-old named Max Mattis filed suit today in Florida, seeking a temporary injunction against the auction house, Golden Auctions, that will open bidding on the ball tomorrow. The lawsuit names Chris Belansky and Kelvin Ramirez. It says Belansky, quote, wrongfully and forcefully obtained possession of the ball from Mattis in the stands, and that Belansky and Ramirez have indicated on social media their plans to sell the ball. The auction house, again, Golden Auctions, says we are aware of the case that has been filed, having reviewed the allegations and images included in the lawsuit and publicly available video from the game. Golden plans to go live with the auction of the Ohtani 50-50 ball. They plan to open the bidding tomorrow at $500,000. Earlier in the week, we told you that they also have like eBay, they have a buy it now price of $4.5 million. If by a certain date that number has not been met, then they would open it, I think, at a different, I don't know. They could get up to $3 million, and then they'll do something. But anyway, if you feel like plopping down 4.5 large,
as one does,
yeah, sure,
on a Thursday,
sure, for a baseball,
yeah,
then they'll hook you up. But this does get interesting. This kid says he caught it and that these dudes ripped it out of his hands.
Get in the weight room, kid.
Well, I feel bad for this kid, but this is not the first time that fans have grappled over any kind of – look, sometimes fans will just grapple over a ball, and it's like, some dude who – you don't even know about.
It's Clint Barmas's fourth home run of the season.
Yeah,
The year is 2007.
I mean, so look, this guy Belansky is the one that came up with it. I suppose that's the best we got, right?
How you gonna roll that too? I mean, is this like NFL rules? Does the kid need to? When you go back and look at the film, does he establish possession? Does he have 2 feet in bounds? Does he take the catch to the ground? Does he complete the process of the catch before the ball was stripped from his hands? Can we establish an actual catch and possession before we can claim that it's stolen?
So I'll read this verbatim from the ESPN report. Mattis' lawsuit says that on September 19th, he was at Lone Depot Park in Miami to celebrate his 18th birthday and was recording the game between the Dodgers and Marlins on his phone when Ohtani hit his 50th home run. The suit says he was standing by the fence in left field when he saw the ball coming toward him. When he went to try to get it, the suit says, he, quote, successfully grabbed it in his left hand and intended to keep it. Mattis says, quote, a muscular, older man then trapped his arm in between his legs and wrangled the 50-50 ball out of Max's left hand. The suit says Mattis was the rightful owner of the ball before it was forcefully taken away from him by Belansky. Quote, if defendants are allowed to sell the 50-50 ball, plaintiff will be irreparably harmed as the 50-50 ball is a unique, one-of-a-kind item that cannot be replicated. Once the 50-50 ball is sold, plaintiff will likely be unable to get it back, and no monetary damages will be adequate to replace it. Good luck. That's the best I can tell you.
Yeah, you ain't winning that one. A for effort, but you're not winning that. I'm afraid.
I don't think so either. But we'll see. There you go. A couple other things to get to. First off, this is too bad. Derrick Rose is calling it quits. Won the, I think is he still the youngest MVP in NBA history?
Yep, at 22
years old. Mm-hmm. Did that a long time ago after just a couple of years in the league. He's now 35 and announced this morning that he was going to retire. It's pretty cool. He took out full-page ads in the 6 NBA cities where he played. Of course, he was from Chicago, drafted by the Bulls, won the MVP with the Bulls, and they were on their way back to something. I'm not going to tell you they were on their way back to winning 6 titles in 8 years.
But they earned a 1 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and
they were becoming relevant again, and he was a dynamic player. But then a major knee injury, and he was never the same. And kind of like Grant Hill, just and there's so many guys that do come back, and then there are guys that just don't. And certainly I think in this last couple of generations of NBA dudes, these are the two that come to mind, are Derrick Rose and Grant Hill. If they had not been hurt or had not been as severely hurt, what could have been. I often wonder because they were special basketball players.
And with Derrick Rose, too, it was really unfortunate that he had that initial ACL tear in the first round of the playoffs when they're, a 1 seed and the best defensive team in the NBA. A team, really could have pushed Miami if they were to have met, but they ultimately lost to Philadelphia. Derrick Rose misses that next year, comes back, and I don't know if it's in the preseason or if it's early in the season. I can't necessarily remember, but then he tears the other ACL. So it wasn't just that he came back from the injury. He had the exact same injury happen again, and he basically, for all intents and purposes, misses 2 years of his NBA career, and that explosiveness is what made him so good offensively, never returned, and he had to kind of reinvent himself.
Yeah.
And he, to his credit, was able to still carve out a long career
It's a good
in
supporting
the NBA.
role, yeah.
Yeah, was a bench player for the rest of his career, but was able to still carve out a role. And for a lot of guys, that does take you out completely. And he was at least able to still be good enough to, despite the limited athleticism, maintain himself on an NBA roster for a long time and still be able to make some pretty good money. But that's going to be one of the biggest what-ifs maybe in the history of the NBA. I think I put him in that category with Grant Hill, Brandon Roy, a lot of other players. I would even put Greg Oden in that one as well.
Yeah, Oden. Yeah, I might not have thought of Oden as much. Again, like I say, I come back around to Derrick Rose and Grant Hill. They just, without the, because again, they were special. They were different. They were different.
Derrick Rose is kind of like, I think it was it Dan Patrick this morning that said that he was kind of like John Morant before John Morant.
Maybe
He's kind of like
I didn't hear that, but
the prototype. They have very similar playing styles, and I can kind of see that to a degree. I think Ja is a little different, maybe a little more explosive of an athlete, but Derrick Rose was an incredibly explosive athlete.
It's a good career, but and we'll hear from him. He'll do things. He's only 35, so he'll be around tonight. Man, I hope Al and Herbie have a good call here because sometimes Thursday night games just leave a lot to be desired. But quite honestly, tonight for Thursday night NFL football on Amazon, it's hard for the National Football League to deliver a bigger name game. There are only a few that I would say could qualify. But tonight you have the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Football Giants. The Cowboys are slight road actually not really slight. They're 5.5-point road favorites. Both these teams 1 and 2. Cowboys have lost both their games at home. So maybe getting out of Jarrah world will be all right for them. We shall see.
If the trend continues.
But I don't know if Bezos had to, call Goodell and go, listen, can you just get me one good game, please? I'm like, sure, we'll get you the Cowboys and the Giants.
Because the last 5 years, it's like, hey, Jeff, we got you a rivalry game. Oh, cool. What is it? Titans, Jags, and then hangs up phone. No, finally, they got a rivalry game that has a little bit more of a history.
Well, this is a big game.
That are pretty big.
Yeah, Cowboys, Giants. This is a great game again on paper, or at least on name paper. How good a game it will be, I don't know, but it's getting to a point. It's not must win for either one of them, obviously. But Dallas,
you better win. For Dallas.
I think for Dallas, you better go win. You're a road favorite, and that's rare. Go take care of business. We'll see. 8:20 kickoff tonight from what's the name of that stadium?
MetLife.
MetLife. Thank you. I should know that because the Broncos won a Super Bowl there.
They did, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah. Russell Wilson had a snap go over his head first play of the game, and it was all downhill from there.
That's not my fault.
That's exactly how it went down.
Hey, every once in a while, man. My Broncos,
Bruno Mars was fun. Fun halftime.
Something good. Yeah. There you go. That's our headlines of the day, brought to you by Integrated Media. Hey, you can use Integrated Media to watch that game tonight if you so choose, and you should. I know I will be, and I know Mrs. Phillips will be screaming at the television if her beloved Cowboys are not winning the game. 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs and so much more. Call my good friends at Integrated Media. We'll talk some Gamecocks on the other side, recap one of our poll questions for football, but get you a couple of thoughts from Lamont Paris, who spoke yesterday. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Take a minute to tell you about our great friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers all across the Midlands of South Carolina. Local owners Janet and Bob Keem, been here for a long time, really involved in the local community, and they want you to know that they're here to help you improve the overall health that you go through every single day. Affordable, convenient chiropractic care is what they offer. They want to help you maintain and prevent reoccurring problems. If you've been bothered by back, neck, shoulder, or joint pain, get back in the game. You don't need appointments. Don't have to worry about insurance. You can be in and out quickly. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, and Saturdays, 10 until 4. If you have questions, if you've never been to a chiropractic center, your initial visit with a consultation, exam, and adjustment is just $29. And again, you don't need an appointment. They've got 4 locations in Columbia and many all across the country when you're traveling. Here in town, Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint.
Motivation is powerful, particularly when it's a collective motivation. It's one thing for you to be motivated to work harder, to earn more minutes or whatever that is, but when you have a collaboration, a group of people that are all motivated for the same thing, honestly, there's nothing like it. I think it's one of the most special things that we have, and it really seems like they're doing that and rallying around it. So I'm just excited to see how things end up for them.
That was Lamont Paris last night on Carolina Call, special basketball edition, as Shane Beamer is out on the recruiting trail. And, of course, the Gamecock football team not playing. So Lamont was asked, what are you taking from what you're seeing out of that football team? Motivation, collective. Heck, that's our buzzwords, right? Cohesion and confidence, cohesion and confidence.
They got their own.
Building those things. We'll hear more from Lamont in just a little bit. Before we do that, let's check in again with our good friend Terry Ford. At least that's what we call him. He is out at Hardee's on Garner's Ferry Road.
That's what you say to my face. Absolutely.
Well, no, actually,
Absolutely.
I don't say that to your face. But I said it here for other people to believe that's exactly what we say.
On the air.
How's it going, Ter?
That's right. Just fantastic. A couple of our fine listeners have come in here to round up their bill for the good of the Harvest Hope Food Bank. Again, we're trying to feed the youngins in the Midlands who deserve a good lunch when they go to school every day. So we appreciate you if you come in and you round up your bill to the nearest dollar. That change will go toward the Harvest of Hope Food Bank anywhere, not just as Hardee's at the corner of Garner's Ferry, and Garner's Ferry, but any other participating Hardee's in the Midlands. If you round it up, it'll go for a good cause. So we are hanging out today. That's right. We've got it going on here at Hardee's.
And Terry's taking home a Frisco burger in just a little bit. So
I think I did the chicken tenders, which is phenomenal. They are very good. But that Frisco burger is calling at me.
No, you should.
I'm hearing this.
You should do it.
It's really weird.
You should do it.
Give in.
I'm getting a thumbs up on the Frisco burger right now and a good head shake.
All right.
Give in.
Frisco burger.
Give in to the
Absolutely.
temptation.
Well done. You can feel like you're right there from Frisco, if that's what they call it, out that way. I don't know. Enjoy. All right, we'll check in with Terry again in just a little bit. Thank you, sir. Again, it is indeed a great opportunity, in all seriousness. September is Hunger Action Month with the Hardee's Roundup. Lamont Paris speaking last night. Listen, and let's go to we'll go to cut 3 first here, Elijah, and we'll get, this is Elijah's getting all giddy. I mean, football season is here, but I know his wheelhouse is college hoops.
My bread is buttered,
No,
baby.
I get it. Let's call it what it was first before we hear this. Expectations were greatly exceeded last year. Now, expectations weren't very high. Now, all of a sudden, is there a feeling around this fan base of, you need to get back to the NCAAs? Well, we'll touch on that in just a second. But first, just what Lamont says he's feeling around the program.
I mean, wherever I am, whether it's on campus or, if you might see me out at the grocery store picking up a couple of items, I just can't. It's hard to describe how many times I hear someone saying something positive about how they're anticipating men's basketball season and really athletics as a whole. There's such a good buzz around the athletic department and the university in general, but we've gotten a lot of tremendous feedback just after how the season went. People are so involved in the recruiting now that they're completely aware of the guys that we brought in. We've got so much South Carolina flavor on our roster. I think people are just really, really excited to see what the product is that we put out there. And I'm really excited, too, to get with these guys and kind of see where they take us because, my job's similar from year to year, but it's different based on the group that you have. And it'll be a unique experience from last season, and I'm really excited to see where these guys take us.
Before we talk in greater detail about that, let's just go straight to cut 6 because he just touched on it. My job, he says, is basically kind of the same from year to year, but there are going to be some subtle changes. So what will be different for the Gamecocks in 24-25?
I think it'll be on both sides of the coin. I think there will be some things that are very similar. Hopefully, if we can grow to being very solid defensively and not turning the ball over at a high rate. There's certain things that I think may not even have to do with style. They're a byproduct of what we try to get done. So some of those, but then every group takes on its own life based on the personnel. And there will be some differences where the real question mark comes in as a coach and as a coaching staff is, okay, here's what we believe in defensively. We had statistically, in terms of points per game allowed, the best defense in all of the SEC last year. So we're longer and more athletic this year. Well, where does that show itself? You can contest shots better. You can rebound potentially better, which I hope we do. And you could potentially be in the passing lane and force more turnovers. Well, do you change what your philosophy is and trying to get more steals because you're longer and more athletic, and trying to block more shots because you're longer and athletic, at the risk potentially of changing some of the things that allowed you to be an incredible defensive team?
Right.
So those are things that you have to struggle with as a coach, and there'll be a couple of things that we'll throw out there during practice and see what it looks like, and some of them will stick, hopefully, some of them won't, and I just won't think that there'll be things that we'll be able to do in a game. So it's good to have options, though. I will say that it's good to have some guys that you think, well, maybe we could try this, maybe we could press a little bit, maybe we could pressure the ball in a different way, maybe we could create and force some turnovers, which may generate more offense with this group. So it's nice to have the option.
Good stuff here from Coach Paris. You know, one of the things that you and I were talking about this morning when we were going to talk a little hoops is, you're not really going to catch anybody by surprise anymore. Although I think that wore off pretty quickly last year. Really, I think you caught some notice. Even you didn't know Missouri was going to be as bad as they were, but that overtime win in Missouri was a big deal. And it's like, oh, okay, they're doing things a little bit differently. But then you pull off some pretty big upsets, and you had, again, the win in Knoxville was just such a huge deal.
Clubbing Kentucky the way you did.
Yeah, I mean, there were some really nice moments for this ball club last season. That said, Elijah, I think you hit it, and we were talking about you're going to SEC basketball media days in a couple of weeks. You're probably still going to be picked 9, 10, 11 in a 16-school league, and that's not a knock on you or like, we don't believe in you. There's just a lot of clubs ahead of you that are going to garner more benefit of the doubt than you.
Significantly. I mean, Arkansas is going to get a lot of benefit of the doubt, despite being awful last year because of John Calipari and the roster they're bringing in. Kentucky did a remarkable job in the transfer portal, and I really like the hire of Mark Pope. Auburn did a really good job in the portal and retooling. Alabama has done that consistently the last few years.
Alabama's going to be number one in the country, aren't they?
Yeah, I have a really good feeling that Alabama's going to be the number one team when we tip off the season. Tennessee lost a lot, but they got a lot in the portal too, with a decent recruiting class. Like this is a conference. Now you're bringing Oklahoma and Texas, which I think you're on par with.
Right.
Texas might be a little better, but
Florida's gotten better. Georgia's gotten better.
Yeah, and Florida got a lot of good players, including a freshman who's like 7'9". I don't know if he's actually going to play, but he'll be a marvel to look at. But this is a loaded basketball conference, the best the SEC's ever been from top to bottom. And what the struggle at the beginning of the year is going to be is finding that identity that Lamont was alluding to. I think there's some things you can do defensively this year you can't do last year, and he mentioned pressing. Pressing might be one of those things you can do because Jamari Thomas, who the fan base might not be familiar with right now because he's the transfer from Norfolk State, but I want to say he's like 5'9" as a point guard, but he is a hound defensively. Oh, and he played defensive back in high school. He's really good at picking off passes and passing lanes and reading passes. Jamari Thomas is a whole lot of fun to watch. His fan base is going to fall in love with him. And with the new pieces they brought in, this team's going to look a lot different. Better? Not sure yet, but they're going to be a lot different and at least a lot more athletic.
Yeah. Jordan Butler and Nick Pringle coming in from SEC schools, Missouri and Alabama. As Lamont said in one of those cuts, a big South Carolina flavor. There are 8 South Carolinians on this team. There are 3 from the greater Columbia area. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk more about them in the coming weeks, but practice is getting underway. Meantime, we need 2 of you right now. It's time to play the Wild Card Showdown. 803-404-6100. Got a craft beer passport up for grabs. 803-404-6100. The Showdown. 2 of you right now. Let's go.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, but we'll go ahead and preface all of this with the announcement from the National Weather Service that a flash flood warning is in effect in this area until 6 p.m. tonight. Some accidents we have that are active right now causing some backup. We got one on Confederate Avenue between Bull Street and Clark Street, one on Hugh G Street near Blossom Street, another one on 26 West at Broad River Road near exit 97, one on 77 southbound at Blythewood Road near exit 27, one on Main Street near College Street, one on Turkey Farm Road near Wilson Boulevard, and lastly, one on Wise Ferry Road at Highway 378.
And it would typically be drive around the SEC time, but we're replacing that today with the Wild Card Showdown, mainly because I'm not going to be here tomorrow, and we need to go ahead and play, and I like doing this. But we have Brent. We also had Billy, but I don't know where Billy went. So I am going to put out the call for one more of you right now. Billy just decided he either got scared or didn't want to play or didn't want a crappier passport. So, Brent, sit tight. 803-404-6100. Somebody is going to replace Billy here before we get some picks. So hit me up. I need one more of you right now. So if you called earlier and didn't get a chance, well, it's you. You're first one. First come, first served. In the meantime, I'll just talk to you, Brent. How's your day going?
Hey, fine, man. Rainy day.
Yeah, it has been. And again, I'll be careful out there. Flash flood warning and all of that. But Brent, while Elijah is lining somebody else up, I don't know if you know that guy, Billy, Brent. Maybe he got scared of you. I have no idea. I don't know where Billy went, but he just decided.
I doubt it.
He just decided he didn't want to play. So we're gonna
tell everybody to be careful going home today.
Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. Hang on one second while Elijah does this, and then we'll get you going. Yeah, again, I won't be here tomorrow, but tomorrow, by the way, at least scheduled. The halftime show and the postgame show broadcasting live from the Ultimate Long Drive World Championships at the Partee Driving Range on Charleston Highway over in West Columbia. Again, that's a weather permitting type of situation, I think, at this point, but hopefully we do that. All right, who we got?
We got Travis now.
Okay.
We are running into a little bit of a board issue. We'll take you behind the curtain here. The lines are not locking, so we will have to let Brent go first.
Okay.
And then we will come back to Travis because I cannot lock him in place.
Okay.
And if I try to bring him on board with us, we will lose him.
We'll just lose him. Okay.
Into the radio abyss.
All right, so Travis.
It's scary out there.
Travis, sit tight. We'll play and make picks with Brent, and then we'll come back around and have Travis make his picks. All right, Elijah, you want to cue the band, and away we go. All right, Brent, we're going to let you start off, buddy. We got the Georgia-Bama game this weekend. As of this afternoon, it is Georgia, a 2-point favorite in Tuscaloosa. What do you think, Brent?
Giving the dogs.
Georgia to cover the spread. Elijah Campbell.
Give me Alabama to win outright.
Bama to win the game. I have gone back and forth so much because Georgia is having trouble throwing, but boy, their defense is good. For now, until proven otherwise, give me Georgia to cover and win the game. All right, Elijah Campbell, I'll go to you next. Penn State. This is a top 20 matchup. Penn State hosting Illinois, but Penn State is a 20-point home favorite. Number 9, Lions. Number 19, Illini. Penn State minus 20.
Yeah, give me Illinois to cover that.
This is just an interesting game all of a sudden, top 20 matchup in the Big Ten. Brent, what do you think?
I think Penn State's due. Give them Penn State.
All right, Penn State says Brent. I like the 20 points, but boy, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of points,
man.
What
if Penn State decides to say, oh, yeah? Watch this. There's a reason they're that big a favorite. Mm-hmm.
James Franklin does really well in games against ranked teams, too. By that, I mean he doesn't.
He does not. No, you know what? Illinois. I just like the 20 points, but man.
That's a good cushion for a team that's ranked.
All right, to the NFL we go. Brent, I'll come back to you. Green Bay, 2.5-point favorites at home over the Vikings on Sunday. The 3-0 Vikings, I might add.
Wow. I'm going with Green Bay.
Green Bay. All right, they're at home. Elijah Campbell.
What was the point total on that?
2.5 at Lambeau.
Oh, yeah. Pack is whack. Go Vikes. I'll take the Vikings.
Minnesota. I'll take Jordan Love to win by a field goal. I'll do that.
There you go.
All right, Kansas City's going to L.A. to take on the Chargers. There'll probably be more Chiefs fans than Chargers fans, but Jim Harbaugh's turning it around a little bit. I'll go first on this one. Give me the Chargers 7.5. I'm air quoting home points. I'll take that.
Yeah, they don't play home games.
No, they really don't. Sadly, the Chargers just don't ever play a home game. But I'll take the Chargers plus the 7.5. Elijah?
I'll do the same. I like Coach Harbaugh's ability to keep those games close.
Yeah, I think Kansas City
He's good at what he
wins,
does.
but I'll take LA to cover the spread. Brent, what do you think?
I agree with you. I will take the Chargers.
Chargers to cover. So we all three got that one. We'll see what Travis says in just a second. All right, wild card game. Brent, you get a good one, man. Ole Miss, 17.5-point favorites at home over Kentucky.
Wow.
That's a lot of points.
I tell you what, I would like this to happen for next week. So give me Ole Miss.
All right, Ole Miss.
I had the discussion earlier today.
Yeah. Thing is, Ole Miss is going to score 30 points. At least.
They're going to score.
Yeah.
That offense is humming.
Yeah. Elijah Campbell, you get Kansas State. 5-point favorites at home over Oklahoma State.
I'm feeling a Kansas State bounce back, and I'm very disappointed in Ollie Gordon this year. Give me Kansas State in that 5.5.
K-State, says Elijah. My game is Notre Dame, 6.5-point favorites over a surprisingly good Louisville team. It's in South Bend. Oh, boy.
That's juicy.
Notre Dame just kind of lets you down when they,
Northern Illinois walking through that door.
No. Notre Dame. I'll take Notre Dame. I
He's
know.
taking the bait, and you do
know.
not feel good about that at all.
All right. And total offense for Jalen Milroe is our tiebreaker statistic. Brent, total offense Saturday for Jalen Milroe against Georgia.
Okay. That's passing and rushing,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yeah, he's running through that computer.
222.
2.
Okay.
2. All right, good deal. We'll make our picks on that one with Travis. All right, Brent, sit tight for do we got everything we need from Brent?
You do?
All right, Brent, appreciate you, buddy. We're going to get to Travis now. Have a great weekend, sir, and thank you for playing and listening. All right, let's bring Travis on to make his picks. We can just go right down the line. Travis, how you doing, son? Or sir?
Doing well, man.
Either
Doing well.
one. Good to have you.
Yes, sir.
Knew what I was trying to say anyway here. All right.
You've been great with words today.
It's been one of those. I could almost tell it was coming. Georgia and Bama. Again, the Dogs 2-point favorites in Tuscaloosa, Travis.
Yeah, Bama straight up. Bama's going to win out.
Bama's going to win.
Feel the same way.
All right, so we got a 2-2 split on that one. All right, again, Penn State, 20-point favorites at home over Illinois in a top 20 matchup.
Man, Vegas knows something. I'm going Penn State.
Penn State. Cover the spread. Packers, 2.5-point favorites at home over the Vikings.
Let's roll with Vikings.
Minnesota.
Pack is whack.
Travis. And again, KC, 7.5-point favorites at the Chargers.
Nah, they aren't the same as away from Arrowhead. Let's go with the Chargers.
Chargers. All right, so we got a sweep on that one. And then your game, Travis, is... Ooh, you get the juiciest one that we have down there. Oklahoma, 2-point favorites at Auburn.
Anxiety Bowl.
Ugh. Oklahoma. Auburn's awful.
They are not good. I will agree with you. Oklahoma, says Travis. All right. And again, our tiebreaker stat is total offense
Milroe.
for Jalen Milroe against Georgia. Travis, we'll let you go, and then Elijah and I will do ours.
All right. 240.
240, not too far away from what Brent said. Elijah Campbell?
276.
276. Yeah, You know what? You're not gonna like me, Elijah. I'll give you a little bit of cushion. I'll give you 5 yards. I'm going 281.
I want to throw up.
We'll see what happens. That's just I am 9-11 against the spread. Elijah is 7-13. So Brent, Travis, we finally actually one of us won the week last week, so that was something. But we had a craft beer passport up for grabs. If y'all can beat us and the other guy, we'll hook you up with one on Monday. So Travis, appreciate you. Brent, thank you as well, sir. And y'all have a good weekend. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Y'all stay safe.
You bet. Right back at you. Yeah, everybody stay safe, please.
Most importantly.
Yep. Tropical storm warning, flash flood warning. So do indeed be careful. All right. That's the Wild Card Showdown. We'll wrap it up on the other side. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show on this Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. Thanks once again to Travis and Brent for playing. Sorry, Billy. Don't know what happened to Billy.
Had him on the line and said, hey, hold on 1 second. I'll come right back to you.
He just decided to.
Might have had the radio fairy zap him. I don't know. Something happened.
Don't know. Anyway, Terry Ford is out at the Hardee's on Garner's Ferry, east of the one he was at last week, just out at Garner's Ferry and Garner's Ferry. Have you ever gone 5-0 on a recorded message for anybody, Terry?
Oh yeah. Just call my hotline. Call my line, and I will give you guaranteed winners. That's right. All you do is give me your Visa card number. Yeah. I love those guys.
I mean, going 5-0 is tough. Even if you go 4-1, is that
pretty impressive? Isn't it?
I'd love to do that for you.
Yeah.
I love those shows and those guys. Yeah. They're always highly entertaining.
Why does it have to be a recorded message? I mean, I want to talk to that guy.
I want it to be more personal.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to talk to you. That's why it's a recorded message.
Clearly. I mean, be more. I guess he's got all the information that he's ready to give me. So.
Yeah, and all you got to do is just call that recorded line and give your card information, and you can be 5-0 just like him.
That's genius. You know what? I'm
trying to imagine our company's security policies matching up with that guy's.
What if he goes 0-5?
Well, apparently, you get the season free. I don't know what that means.
That's great. When you go 0-5, what I want is more of your picks.
I don't know. I
want more of them.
I don't know.
Why do I want to have the season free from you when you suck?
I don't know.
Why would I want your picks?
You know what? I haven't lost enough money because of you. I need to lose more.
I need more of your bad advice. Absolutely.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm pretty soon I'll give out a number. I'm just going to give you a recorded. I don't know what it's going to say.
We need to open up a phone line just for bad advice. Yeah.
Guys, I got a great idea. It's just not just football, just life advice from Jay Phillips. Sure. Call the recorded line.
That's what I'll be doing, man.
It's like a Reddit, ask me anything.
Yeah. You know, don't wear white after Labor Day. Apparently people don't like that.
No, after you give me that Visa number, I'll give you my deep advice.
Yes, you can put too much bacon on a bacon cheeseburger. No, I'm really kidding. You can't.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
No. Speaking of bacon cheeseburgers, they have some of those where Terry is as we wrap things up today. He is out at Hardee's, as I said, and it's all for a great cause, Mr. Ford.
I want to say Dr. Bulldog came out to see us. We appreciate Dr. He's one of Gamecock Larry's doctors. Okay. Dr. Bulldog came out.
Is he an MD, a PhD? Do we know what kind of a doctor?
He's a doctor.
I see.
I've never.
He's got doctor in his name.
Okay.
I've never seen a dog become a doctor, and honestly, that is very inspiring.
I just feel like
I mean, and you figure when you can go from Bulldog to doctor, you've done something.
Sure. But Dr. Nick Riviera is a doctor, too, so I don't know what that means. But anyway.
I don't either.
Well, it's nice to see Dr. Bulldog. But in the meantime.
Dr. I love him. He texts all the time. He stopped in to say hi. Cool. Got himself something from Hardee's and rounded up to the next dollar. Yeah. And it's for a good cause, the Harvest of Hope Food Bank. If you go to any Hardee's in the Midlands, any participating Hardee's, and you round up your bill, just to, up to the nearest dollar, that change you round up with will go to the Harvest of Hope Food Bank, which will help feed kids good, healthy lunches in the Midlands when they're at school every day. It's for a great cause.
Good stuff. Cowboys, Giants tonight. Who needs it more?
Isn't this the game where the Cowboys bludgeon the Giants? I mean, they beat them, 100 out of the last 101 times. The Cowboys have been killed the last two games. This is set up for a Cowboy whooping of the Giants, isn't it? Giants won last week.
I think so. Yeah. I'm with Elijah, though. It's not a must-win game, but it's a you-better-win game.
It's in your best interest to win game. Yeah.
It's a one-sided game.
Even if it's game 4 of 17, that's just how the NFL is, man. When you're supposed to win, you're supposed to win.
Next 4 games, according to the ESPN FPI, the Cowboys have a slightly under than 50% chance in those next 4 games.
Yeah. That's why you win this one. Right, it's like no offense to Carolina and the Red Rocket, the future Hall of Famer. This is the Red Rocket, but look, Tampa just came off a big win the week before, right?
Yep.
They're feeling really good about themselves. They walk out with their chest puffy. They're playing crappy Carolina, and what happens?
Yeah, great point. Speaking of that stadium where this game is tonight, my Broncos will be there on Sunday against the New York Jets. which is a football team. So,
and the other part of that, the Broncos are coming off an unexpected win, and they will go and play the Jets, and they will get stomped on.
And I think the Broncos are staying at the Greenbrier, man.
Nice.
Either that or some Motel 6 in West Virginia, but they went from Tampa up. They're staying on the eastern seaboard. I'm assuming they're at the Greenbrier.
That's what I meant. I meant Denver. I said Carolina. I meant Denver. Denver went into Tampa. Tampa's feeling really good about themselves. Yeah. Denver's winless, and Denver whooped them. Absolutely. I just saw this. The Broncos are staying at the Bring Your Own Sheets Motel in Upper Manhattan.
Well, at least the sheets are probably from Walmart because, the Waltons own the team. So there's that. Maybe they're just staying at a Walmart. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, good stuff.
Right,
again, Terry rounded up at Hardee's on Garner's Ferry. Go say hey for a few more minutes. Good stuff today. Thanks to Joe Person for joining us. Good stuff. And again, good luck to Travis and Brent in the Wild Card Showdown. I'm out tomorrow. Y'all have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday.